Hey, it's Don. I thought I would touch on some questions here. I've got some other videos already shot for Patreon, so shouldn't be any problem getting them up this time or anything like that. But after the last video, I got some questions. I got questions from people in here as well. So I wanted to touch a little bit on the financials and what I'm looking at, because again, people have some misconceptions on what's important, at least from my standpoint. Now, eBay reported that they sold less items on the platform. Now, you have to take apart eBay's financials are for everything, not just the site. They have operational revenue, which is from some of the other things they do. They get revenue from Hubstub, eBay Classifieds, and as well as income for advertising, income from promotional items and things like that. So that's operational. That's increased. That's different than saying the site's increased. Overall, the site is down. They're projecting at least a 2 to 4% decline in sales on the platform for this quarter, for fourth quarter. That is projected. Now, they still could be projecting a overall increase by 1% of overall revenue. That is possible. Those are two different things. Now, comparing third quarter of eBay sales to third quarter of the year before, it's flat. That means they made it not a dime more. And, you know, they're cutting costs. If you look at their operational expenses, again, I broke down and looked through the entire thing, compared 2018 to 2019, quarter by quarter, year by year. That's what I've looked at to figure out what's going on. That's what I would do with anything. Now, I've taken business classes and things like that. I've operated and done operations for a company that did millions of dollars when I worked for Einstein Brothers. So I know a little bit about how this works. I took accounting and all of that kind of stuff, Business 101 in college. So I have a complete understanding of how this works. I've worked in corporate America, so not trying to brag. I hope you all know that. I just want you to understand what's important. It's important to say that eBay is not projecting any more sales than last year. In fact, they're projecting less. So that would mean that we're going to sell less items this year. No reasoning why. There's no explanation. It's just that they're projecting less. Now, if this goes on another year, it's going to be even worse for us, because then instead of getting an increase, every company that works in corporate America should get a 3 to 4% increase year over last. That's what matters. What did you do last year, and how much more are you going to make this year over last year over last? That's what every projection, every sales figure is compared to in corporate America, year over last. So any of the other stuff doesn't mean anything. I don't care what second quarter did versus third quarter. It means nothing. The end result is year over last results are not trending very good for eBay. They've got some activist board members who actually own 5% or better of eBay stock, from what I understand. eBay, again, as I said, is lowering investment into infrastructure the way it looks, because if you look at their operating expenses, the amount that they're spending to keep everything functioning and operational and all of that, their investment is less than it was last year by quite a considerable amount. They also invested over $1 billion to buy back their stocks. Now, we know that the current administration gave out a big tax break, which pretty much 99% of it goes to corporate America. They said they wouldn't do this, but this is what all of the big corporations are doing. They're buying back their stocks to elevate the price, to give more of a bonus kickback to their investors. So the investors are going to make out like bandits, and instead of investing the money that they got into fixing the platform or advancing the platform or having any kind of strategy to advance it, to get more people in instead of losing year by year, they're investing at least $4 billion is what they're stating to buy back stocks. They've basically nullified some stocks as well, millions of them, so that they won't exist anymore in another way. So they're doing all these things that aren't great. They're having a business review, which eBay's stating is a fine thing. Well, it's not fine if they're forced to sell Hubstub and eBay Classifieds. That could hurt the company. Both those platforms are doing good and getting money in. So if you cut off income, you know, it just doesn't make any sense. It's not sustainable. So again, if they make 1% over last year's in overall revenue, they're getting that from other things. They're not getting it from the platform. They did announce, though, that they said they've got many more people on the platform as buyers, but that means nothing. I could have 1,000 more buyers, but if they're not buying any more items, it doesn't do anything. You can double the amount of people on a platform, but if the sales are still down, those numbers don't mean anything. Just like they're saying that they were, you know, their sales were what were predicted. the predicted sales weren't good. So if they show up not good, that just matches what their predictions were. If they predict 2 to 4% decrease in sales on the platform, volume, merchandise volume is what we're looking at here. The volume of merchandise that changed hands. They're projecting it to be less, but they've got more buyers on the platform. What's going on? That's the key takeaway. The point of this just is that, anything could happen. You never know. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. That's the only thing that conversation is steered towards. It's not trying to scare anybody. I completely say in there, eBay's a viable platform. I'm not giving it up. I'm just going to keep going just like usual. It just isn't as much of my income anymore as it used to be. That's a fact. It's a considerable amount less, but I'm making it other places, so I'm not losing anything. My income has still risen each month as we go by this. So again, it doesn't matter that it's eBay or not. Don't just always consider that this has to be just eBay related. Overall plan. Some of you are on hit postcards. I sell pretty decent amount of hit postcards lately, which I don't go into any of the sales they do or anything like that. I do an Amazon, I do Etsy, I do all these other places where I get money in. So over time, I figured out that this sells better here, this sells better there, and things like that. Some of the questions that I wanted to address with this too, because they're all kind of tied into, or at least some of them are, is third-party app. What does a third-party app do? Why would I want to do that? How can I own my listings? I don't know any way you can download them in a usable format. Just as a CSV, you can do it. And then you can download the photos separately or keep them in a file. I don't see any way to pull them together to upload them from a CSV without having to do a bunch of work with the photo retying back in. Now, if you have a third-party app, Sellbrite, Ecom Dash, what you do is you do the same thing basically that you did with hit postcards, or what you could do is we sync them in, import them into the third-party apps, Sellbrite or Ecom Dash or any of the other ones. There's like a dozen of them that do it. I'm talking about Sellbrite. It's been around for a while, and Ecom Dash has some good tie-ins, and they're well rated from what I have personally looked into. I can't say I would recommend any of them. It depends on your frustration level. And your patience with it. Again, it's nothing to do with the apps themselves. It's the sites that you're going from. So you download all your listings from eBay. You import them is what it would be. A sync is something totally different, but you import them into the third-party app. Everything about the listing is in the third-party app. So if you originate all of your listings now from the third-party app, you'll be able to sync them. So if they sell on one platform, they'll be pulled off the other one. For those of you on hit postcards, you see that it pulls them down off of eBay, puts them in the ended listings, and puts the word sold into the listing. Now, the third-party app literally will pull them out and end them. That's the difference. So let's say you imported your listings into Sellbrite or Ecom Dash. One of those two is what I use, because they're not billing you by how many total listings you have. They're billing you by how many sales you have. If I was billed by how many listings I have, some of the sites would have cost me over $1,000, even up to $1,500 to do this cross-listing aspect of it. With Ecom Dash, it's under 100. With Sellbrite, it's just over 100. So there's drawbacks or bonuses or pluses to each one of those. So again, we're back to the importing them. I've imported them into Sellbrite. So now if I want to broadcast them out to another site, let's say I've imported all my postcards and I want to put them on Amazon in the historical section of collectibles. That's where my postcards do go. So I have to actually end them in eBay and start them, originate them from Sellbrite. So instead of me trying to lose money, I have to wait and do them as they would officially end on the 30-day time frame. Now, I did show you in another video the other day on how to hold up the automatic relist on the 30-day good till canceled auto relist. You can hold those up so they don't relist. And to do this effectively, once they end, then you go ahead and then propagate them out from the third-party app instead of relisting them on eBay. So every time I propagate out from the third-party app, I go ahead and delete those listings in eBay, or put them in, inventory, or archive them or something. Just don't relist them is the point, and don't hang them there where it looks like they need to be relisted so you don't mess up. For the third-party apps to sync your items, the listing, at least Sellbrite, the listing has to originate from the third-party app. But again, I've imported them now into the third-party app from eBay. And if I want to at this point, if eBay goes under and eBay's done, closes down, I still have all that information in Sellbrite. It's still all there. It's still all mine. That's why I say to own your listing, you have to do something else. Now, if you only got a few hundred listings, you're not making a fortune on there, don't spend the extra money to do a third-party app. As I said in the video that was just up, that, this is for those who rely on this for your only form of income. I wouldn't go with a third-party wrap if you aren't invested in this fully. Now, I've got tens of thousands of listings. If eBay shuts me down or eBay crashes or loses all of those, I'm back down to square one. So I have to spend the money on a third-party app, in my personal opinion. It's like having insurance on your car or a BOP for my business owner's policy. And again, if you're doing everything, all your income comes from an online platform, get yourself a BOP. I have Geico home sites, and I don't announce this on YouTube. I've posted it here and there in a few spots, but Geico home site, that is who does my insurance and has for many years. It's the only one out there that was legitimate, covered everything, offered me to the ability to increase my inventory coverage by how much inventory I have in house. We've had to raise that year after year because the amount of inventory I have has gone up drastically into the millions. So you have to be careful when you have that. Keep raising it up as you do it. Don't forget about that. I know some of you are just making ends meet, so I'm not saying to rush out and get insurance, but at some point you darn well better do it, because if you get hurt or something, you're SOL. My insurance through Geico home sites, and I don't get a dime from them. I don't have any referrals or nothing. I don't even know if that's legal to do that. So I'm just speaking from my own behalf on what I actually enjoy, that I don't have anything to do. You had to pay the first month. If you've got a small store, it's probably going to be under $100. If you've got a big store and you've got a lot of inventory, it could be a couple $100 a month to cover the amount of inventory you have. So this is all backup. That's what the third-party app is, a backup. It's my backup plan. So if eBay crashes them, you got to be able to bring them back. I would just simply wait if from a third-party app, if I was selling clothing, let's say, and I'm using a third-party app and I'm cross-listing them on Poshmark or wherever you're cross-listing them on, that would be your in on this. You wouldn't have to do anything. You could wait till they actually ending and then delete those listings and repropagate them out from the third-party app. That is how it works. But the biggest issue, as I said, I'm not going to recommend a third-party app because it's all on you, on how aggravated you get and, your patience level. You got to have a lot of patience and not look at the small, little, tiny details that are going to mess you up. Because trying to get from, let's say, a California postcard in the collectibles section to historical collectibles on Amazon is not this big, easy feat, because there's no category alignment whatsoever other than the main category being collectibles. It doesn't work that way. So I've had to investigate and invest a lot of time into figuring out ways to accomplish that task for tens of thousands of listings. That's why we're behind, and with other issues and glitches and things like that, it sets it off. So it's worth it. It's worth it. Some people who use Sellbrite and who I've talked to and discussed things like this before have stated it's taken them a year to get it straight. But once they got it straight, it's been smooth sailing. Their goals are being met and they're expanding their business by doing that. When you go and cross-list, it's not free, too. So don't think that, I'm just going to cross-list and everything's going to be free. You still got to pay the 20 cents or 4 months if you're going to Etsy per listing and all these other fees you have. Now, Amazon's free, as you know. I think Bonanza may be free. I don't know. I've never touched on Bonanza. I looked at their site performance by, visitors and things along that line, how much they're spending on advertising, all of that structure on it, and it's not good enough for me to feel like I would use it. Maybe if I get them all up there free and they've got the sync and all that stuff, it might be worth at least looking into. I don't know. I don't need to mess with that right now yet. But, at some point, if it is free, I would recommend putting your items on other sites, whatever's free. Now, again, Amazon, I've got a business account, had a business account for a very long time. Years, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, whatever it may be. We've had a business account for a very long time. So we pay $39.99 no matter what. And I can just list endless amounts of inventory. I can list 100,000 items on Amazon for the same price. So, and also, when you do a third-party app, you're not listing anymore on any of the other sites. You're only creating your listings on the third-party app, because you can create similar to ones that are already listed on Amazon, so you don't have to worry about having that sync issue. You can work through it that way. You can, piddle away certain segments, like I'll do one of my bins, like I'll do A37 or something like that, or P28 in one day, and there'll be 50, 100 listings on that will all end at a certain time frame. And then from there, the minute they end on eBay, I can delete them on eBay, archive them, whatever I want to do with them, and then repropagate them out to many sites at the exact same time. If they don't start in the third-party app, they don't sync to any of the platforms correctly. That's the key. And there's not a lot of information that states that. Having done it now, I can tell you that's how it works. The help on the sites are fairly good too. Ecom Dash and Sellbrite do have videos on YouTube, and they have webinars and things like that once a week or twice a week, depending on the platform. So again, you got to rate it on your own business. It's going to cost you roughly, let's just say, an average of $100 extra a month for a decent level of sales. Now, I think they got some starter ones that are even cheaper than that. But that's what we hit up first. 120, I think, is what it is on Sellbrite, and 90 on Ecom Dash. So, they work good. They do sync. So when one thing sells on one platform, as I said, it comes down off all the other platforms. So if you have let's just say a craft item that you created, a Christmas ornament. We're talking about Christmas ornament. I've got it on Etsy, Homemade by Amazon, eBay, and maybe you've got some other platform that they allow through Shopify or something like that. If it sells on one platform on eBay, it's going to be taken down from Etsy, Shopify, and Amazon by Sellbrite. That's it. But it has to have been created or originally broadcast from the third-party app. If the third-party app didn't broadcast it, it doesn't know what's going on with it because it originated somewhere else. That's why you import them and then rebroadcast them out. That's my take on it. That's the way we've done it, and that's what we've invested a lot of time in to getting it straight. So it's not smooth. It's not a platform's fault. It's just the fact that every site is different. The technology, categorizing, cataloging, and all that stuff's different. So. And speaking of this here, I'm going to just address a few more questions today. We'll go into the Bolo video that's done. Again, it is done the beginning of the week here. Maybe Tuesday I'll throw it up so there's a couple days in between. Give people time to see the videos. Questions on records. Now, you see me get all the records in, like 78s. I can judge the condition of them, whether they're dirty or clean, just by looking at the surface of the record. So I never, ever clean a record other than cleaning it enough to take a picture. Now, if I can get away with not cleaning it for the picture, I won't clean it at all until it sells. Because some may not sell. I just clean them when they sell. So if I sell 10 records today, those 10 records would get cleaned. I've shown you how to clean them in a video here in Patreon. If you just slide down through here, it literally says cleaning records, I do believe, in the title of that one, or at least it addresses records. So look back down there. I use just some little mild dish detergent if I'm going to clean it with just water and a washcloth. Now, a really soft, like a chamois or something like that. Something really, really soft and nothing scratchy to do it. You can literally just clean it with a light soapy washcloth. That's literally what you can do with a record. Now, I have record cleaners and things like that, so I have a different aspect. I just put it on something, it spins it, and it's done. Don't buy anything extra if you don't have to. If you're selling a lot of records and high-end records, you're probably at some point going to have to buy a record player. You can start off small and not do it if you're able to judge the condition of the records by visual. I think if you go to my how-to playlist on YouTube and type in grading or records, I think, or both of those, maybe grading records, you're going to see 2 videos just on grading records. And at the bottom of those videos is a downloadable form that lists all the word-for-word explanations per category. That is pretty fair and straightforward way to grade records. It does list the differences. Now, VJM is what 78s are graded with. If you want to be a good 78 grader, use the VJM. Do not use Goldmine Standard for 78s. Now, most of the diehard 78 collectors are going to use the VJM scale. So, again, that's both broken down in those videos. Go back and check those out if I was you. It shouldn't take you but a minute. Just go into my channel, go to the videos. Top right, there's the search tool. Just type in grading records or records, and you should see them. I do have another video coming out on YouTube just talking about high-end records. I'll touch some more on here too. The next video, as I said, is 4 different breakdowns, but with the last video, I really wanted to address it and put this one out here and just get you guys caught up and explain a little better on that, because I gave the basics in there and you've got the breakdown. So record-wise, you got that answer on there. Another question that I get quite often is my pricing. Why do I price at the prices that I do? And it seems to mean something with questions that I get. It does. Let's just put it this way. You see most of the items are $37.50, $27.50, $28.50, $54.50, $57.50. Those are prices that I would lower at sometime. Now, if I put $15, $25, or say $49.99, those are prices that I will probably just sit that way forever until they sell. Or I'll have to adjust them separately, individually. Now, if something sells for more than $57.50, it's individually I'm going to look at those prices, because I'll from $57.50 I usually go up to $75, $95, $125, $135, $150, $175, and on and on and on. And anything over $75, or I should say anything over $57.50, I'll individually judge on what I want to do with the price. Now, that may mean that I have thousands of listings that I check at any given time. That's what I do. I work it. I want to get the most I can out of them. And again, I cross-list, so I've got avenues, and we've researched many of the items to figure out where they can sell better. I may sell less of some historical items or collectibles on Amazon, but I'm getting more money for them. So as long as they're cross-listed, I have nothing extra into them. What do I care if I spend a little more time selling something or price a little higher? Anybody who's done Amazon, and I know there's some people out there, because I know some of you, we've talked and stuff, you know that Amazon, you get more money for it. It's just a given. And it works the same way with collectibles and things along that line. So, you know, my take on it is to price my items in a pattern that I know what I need to do with that the minute it ends. So if I've got like bin P36 and they're all $27.50, those are items that I can just mark down all at once. I can do one big markdown or price lowering or whatever the case may be. Now, the bin that it's in will be tied to a date. So I've got a spreadsheet that says P27 was listed on February whatever. You know, because in some cases you might delete something on eBay, and the original start date on the platform may change because you've relisted it or ended it or done something else to it. So I keep track of that as well. It helps me know when I should mark something down. So if I'm looking at my calendar in, you know, a certain week, the third week in October, I listed last year certain ones, and it's been a year now. I want to mark them down. It's easy to do. I know $27.50 is what they were listed at. I may drop them down all to $24.50. Now, if I drop them down from $27.50 to say $15, they're probably just going to stay at $15, and I'll never go back and look at them. I might mark off P27 or whatever bin number that they are in on my sheet and put that they're all permanently lowered and be done with that section. So that's a touch on pricing. You know, it helps to instantly be able to look at a price. Somebody gives me an offer or something, I know where I'm at. If I listed it for $27.50, it's probably like a $9 card, you know, or a $9 postcard, or that's the average on it. I would hope to get $15. So, you know, I do play into account a lot of the pricing structure into my prices. Again, $27.50, $34.50, $57.50 is where I max out on these group listings of just common cards that I'm just throwing a price out there. Again, I make up prices on some of the items based on other items that sold similar to it. Again, I've sold thousands, tens of thousands of these types of things, so I've got a good overall understanding of what they sell for. I see every item that sells. I look at these sheets, and you should too, obviously, because especially if it's just you doing your own business. So hopefully that gives you a little idea on those questions. Those are ones that I've been asked quite a few times recently, even with new folks coming into the Patreon group here. I've got heading towards 220, I think, Patreons in here now. So as things go, I may rehash a few things question-wise to answer some other questions. And as I said, for those who are new, some questions I will answer into a YouTube video, but I will let you know that ahead of time as well. I will be pulling up photos and doing another how to price them. I did not forget about a review of a store. I will still do that. I'm going to open it up one more time, and I still have the names from the last time, and a couple other folks made some comments too. So if you want a store review, no extra charge, it's just going to be in a video. You have to be okay with it being in a video just for Patreons here. So if you want that, I'm going to do it for sure. It's not something that I've been trying to put off. Just there's a lot going on with eBay and everything else. My business, obviously, it takes precedence for everything. If I wasn't running around in my business, I wouldn't be able to spend the time doing this. So obviously we're doing just fine, but anyway. So again, if you got any questions or anything like that, I know I do get behind in questions and comments, but I don't answer pretty much anymore really on Facebook or on YouTube very much, just because of time. Now, any extra time I get, I do try to invest here. And again, my pickers are dwindling down right now. There's only a few more estate sales for the next week or so. After October, I'm not going to have the trips in the day and all these other things that I have to do. So there will be more time to dig into it. So I'm going to do some stuff like that. And again, the video before last you saw with the Dropbox video there. I'm going to have some more of that kind of content. So, and it's going to include stuff that I couldn't do, like clips and things like that, to give you some better ideas. So, I wasn't sure how it would work, but you'll probably see a couple more of those coming out. And if we still get good feedback from those, I'll go ahead and go from there and do some more. Live, I haven't forgotten about possibly doing a live. I've talked to people, and there seems to be a lot of glitches, and trying to get everybody together on any reasonable time just doesn't seem practical, because there will only be a handful of people, from what I understand, in some of the comments made. It's going to be hard to get everybody out at the same time. I will throw a survey out there and just see it this week. It will be up before the end of this week, by next weekend. So anyway, hopefully that gave you some thoughts on this. Bolos are coming, I promise. I literally just wanted to touch on these issues. It's a big issue for me with eBay's financials, just because I'm a numbers guy, and I looked at the entire breakdown from Forbes, Wall Street Journal. I looked at like 4 different pages worth, and these are known, reputable sites that discuss these and actually had people from eBay they were talking about or talking with. So that's key important to me, and that's a big thing, that they're not projecting a increase, and what they are projecting for sales is a decrease on the platform. So that's not a good sign. I don't care. It's even a worse sign that they have so many millions more people on the platform as buyers, but they're not buying more items. It's actually buying less. So, they're just window shoppers. Those numbers mean nothing. It's just like eBay suggesting that, the ad blocker only blocks a certain percentage. A suggestion means nothing. That's a number that's a figure or a statement that I used to give all the time when I didn't have any answers. That's a corporate speak for we don't know. Just like a suggested retail price on something means nothing. That's why RA works so well, because I don't care what it says as a manufacturer's suggested retail price. I just care about what I can get out of it. So a suggestion means nothing. It's pointless to even say that. It's a deceiving, deceptive word in my book in many cases. So anyway, hopefully that helps everybody there. Again, any comments, questions, let me know. And again, I thank everybody for your support.